Coming in Facebook, coming in YouTube, getting ready to start my show, Jimmy Rants, over on Instagram. Always come to you guys first, give you guys first dibs to come in, say hello, do your thing before we get live on the air. Once I'm rolling on the air, I'm pretty much in Jimmy Rants mode on Instagram once we get going. What's up, Norma? Thanks for being always one of my first ones here. But I like just casually talking to you guys. I just come on and I just jibber jabber. And people often are like, when they meet me in person, they're like, wow, you're just like you are on camera. I'm like, am I supposed to be something else? So, hello, Judy. Come on in. Thank you for being here today on Jimmy Rants. Come on in, YouTube. I see you guys coming in there as well. Pop in, say hello. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes on my show, Jimmy Rants, over on Instagram. Got a really great topic here today that maybe you've heard some people talk about this and you're like, what in the world is that? So we're going to explain what in the world is that here today on Jimmy Rants. What's up, Nancy? Come on in. Make yourselves at home, you guys. Midway through the week today. It is Wednesday, so it's always funny because I have this work mode. Like when I hit the ground running on Mondays, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I do podcasts. And so I have a lot of information I put out there with the podcasts that I air and doing different things. Hello, Kira. Hello, Tammy. And then by Friday, still working, but winding down. So it's kind of this wind up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday's just like feverish pitch with all the content I put out with the podcasts. And of course, I do daily Jimmy Rants here at 11 a.m. every day. So always kind of doing my thing. And then I get to the weekends and it's like, okay, I gotta mow my grass. I got to chill out. I gotta do this errand. I gotta do that. So like everybody else, just doing my thing, doing it, except I'm very public with my thing. And so people are like, oh, tell us more about your life. I'm like, I'm a pretty boring guy, honestly. Like at the end of the day, really not that special, but. All right, so it is 11 a.m. Eastern time. Time to get going over on Instagram Live. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Here we go. Fix my camera a little bit. It tilted down for some reason. What's up, Kimberly? Have you been gaslighted and you don't even know it? Find out how you can know it here today on Jimmy Rants. Click on that little box down there in the corner. It'll take you straight to IGTV for today's episode. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live. I see my friends from Paleo Valley decided to come in today. What's up, guys? Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. We do go live 11 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. So always be here. I will be here if you're here. So that's our deal. We also simulcast live over here on my Facebook page. So thank you guys for being here, as well as over on my YouTube stream. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay on IGTV. It goes right up there as soon as this episode is over, so go watch the replay there. And if you're watching on replay, thank you for watching. We also put the replay up over on YouTube. If you type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you will find the show. Today on YouTube, I have a Jimmy Rants bonus episode. So it is Wednesday, so the Wednesday edition of the Living La Vida Low Carb Show podcast. I've been doing video interviews for several months now. So today's interview is with a lady named Judy Barnes Baker. And I've known Judy for well over a decade. She was one of the original people in the low carb space. When I first started blogging and podcasting, she came around a couple years after me. And she wrote a great book called The Carb Wars Cookbook. Wonderful, wonderful lady. Well, unfortunately, she was the victim of vitamin A toxicity, and it took her a long time to figure out what it was because mainstream doctors couldn't help her. And so I posted a little bit of a snippet of it on my IGTV today, but go watch the full episode over on YouTube. It is up there right now if you want to see that Jimmy Rants bonus episode. And then finally, pop on over to the official website for this show, it is jimmyrants.com. And then once you're there, you can see all the past episodes there. And it's also a way for you to support me. People have often reached out and like, hey, I love what you do. Is there any way we can support you? I'm like, well, I do have lots of these things called books, so you can definitely buy my books, and a lot of you have. And others actually support me on a monthly basis. I have a Patreon page right there at jimmyrants.com, and then some people just want to give a one-time donation. Everybody who's done that, thank you so much. It really does help out, and if you want to donate, you can definitely do that at jimmyrants.com. Okay, you guys, today I want to talk about a topic that you might have seen people talking about, especially here in 2020. And when I say talking about, I mean online. So when you're on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you might see people use this word that maybe you're not as familiar with. And it's definitely become a commonly used word in 2020 because of the volatility of talking about COVID-19, talking about the race relation stuff, and God forbid, talking about the presidential election. But it's this word called gaslighting. So I've had a few people mention that word to me, and I've seen it being mentioned to other people. Oh, you're just gaslighting the situation. And of course, you can kind of get an image in your mind of what you think that means, but I don't think a lot of people understand what gaslighting is, and they don't understand that it's a manipulation tactic and that it's a way to evoke an emotional response out of other people. So I've got a couple articles here, one from this website called verywellfamily.com. The other one is my favorite one, Psychology Today. I want to go to the Very Well Family one first, simply because I think it had a lot more thorough explanation of gaslighting and some of the ramifications of it. Like, had you guys heard of this gaslighting thing before 2020? Obviously, it's been out there a bit, and people have been talking, and they've actually been engaging in gaslighting. Even before they came up with the word gaslighting, they were already doing gaslighting. People, it's a very common tactic. And it's unfortunate because I think we all, when we go online, just want conversations. We just want to interact with people, and you expect people to interact with you as if you were in person. Unfortunately, all of that is out the window. I think you're very well aware of how common public discourse of conversation has been completely abandoned, and especially here in 2020, people just don't know how to act right. But let's not pretend like they just now figured out how not to act right. They've been that way, but it's even more intensified. So let's get to this. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about this subject called gaslighting. Maybe you've seen people talk about it. Oh, you're just gaslighting the situation. Maybe you didn't know what that is. So I want to educate you today on what it is. Maybe you've done it and you don't realize you've done it. So you'll be able to recognize that here today. Maybe you've been the victim of it and you don't even realize that either. So I'm going to help you figure out how you can tell if it's been used against you. All right, so here we go. This is the verywellfamily.com article, 15 ways to tell if someone is gaslighting you. In a suspense film from the 1940s entitled Gaslight, a manipulative husband tries to make his wife think she's losing her mind by making subtle changes to her environment, including slowly and steadily dimming the flame on a gas lamp. Not only does he disrupt her environment and make her believe she's insane, but he also abuses and controls her, cutting her off from family and friends. Consequently, the wife is constantly having to second guess herself, her feelings, her perceptions, and her memories. And additionally, she feels neurotic, hypersensitive, and out of control, which is the entire goal of gaslighting. The aim is to leave your target feeling so off kilter and unsure of what is true and what is not. That sounds like 2020, doesn't it? Like almost all of this year has been this dystopian perception of reality, like we're apart from what is actually happening. Does anybody else feel that you're out kind of off kilter and unsure of what's true and what's not true? Yeah. So I think 2020 is the very epitome of gaslighting. But I want to take it down to the individual level, because maybe you have experienced gaslighting, but you didn't know that's what it was happening, and you don't know why you were feeling so bad. So I want to get into a little more of what this is and how you can recognize it so you can avoid being trapped by it. So in the film Gaslight, it was an accurate portrayal of the controlling and toxic actions that manipulative people use. Psychologists and counselors began labeling this type of emotional abuse as gaslighting. So I've talked about before on other Jimmy Rants, narcissists. I've talked about people who are difficult to deal with and how you handle that. So this goes right along with that. People who want to gaslight you do not have your best interests in mind. And so this is important information to know about. Maybe this has never been on your radar screen before, and this has just been happening to you unbeknownst to you, and maybe you didn't realize why you were feeling so bad. So hopefully today's Jimmy Rants kind of gives you a better sense of maybe why this is happening. And if you just joined us, you joined us late, we're talking about this subject called gaslighting, what it is, and then how to tell if it's being used against you. Because unfortunately, we do live in a toxic environment where gaslighting has become the norm and not some rarity by a few wackadoodle people. No, everybody seems to be doing this. So what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is a form of manipulation that occurs in abusive relationships. You don't even have to know the person for gaslighting to happen, but if you do know the person, it's especially bad. It is an insidious, and most of the time it's covert. It's emotional abuse where the bully or abuser makes the target question your own judgment and reality. Ultimately, the victim of gaslighting starts to wonder if they're going crazy. Have you felt that way at all when you're around certain people, or even online when you're interacting with people on social media? Do you ever get the feeling when you're talking with someone, either IRL in real life or online, that you are going crazy talking to this person? If that's happening, you can almost bet you are the victim of being gaslighted. And when that happens, eyes wide open, knowing what's going on to you. I think sometimes people, they take it and then they take it personally and they're like, okay, what's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. At that point, this person is so in your head that you're now understanding that you're lying down on the ground and you're looking up, but you think up is down and down is up. And it's not a good feeling. Gaslighting primarily occurs in a dating and married relationship, but it really can happen in any kind of friendship, family members, or really, like I said, even online, you can see people using this gaslighting strategy. Toxic people use this type of manipulation as a means of exerting their power over others so they can manipulate their friends, family, and sometimes coworkers and people, even strangers that they meet online. So, what are some of these tactics that are used in gaslighting? Gaslighting is a technique that undermines your entire perception of reality. When someone is gaslighting you, you often second guess yourself. So that's your first clue. When someone says something to you that immediately makes you second guess, put your antennas up. Put them up really strong at that point. Because you have to trust your gut. I think people's gut wisdom is a lot more intelligent than they give it credit for. And so if somebody says something and it makes you immediately second guess yourself, just know you're probably being gaslighted. Makes you second guess your memories and your perception. So maybe it's something you have vivid memories about, and yet somebody's challenging it. I'll give you a perfect example. My dad, when I started talking about my childhood trauma, and I came back from sabbatical in March, and I started talking about the childhood trauma stuff, my dad called my mom and said, oh, that didn't happen. Well, what's he talking about? I gave him a good home and blah, blah, blah. I took care of him. And my mom already knew the story. My dad was gaslighting me. He was totally saying that my memory is faltering me. I don't have any of the things that my perceptions about what happened aren't true, and trying to get me to second guess what my firsthand experience was of the child abuse, the physical and emotional abuse that I had was. And of course, that bullshit didn't work on me. I knew what he was doing right away. But it's just amazing how people can fall victim to that so easily. Well, maybe it wasn't as bad. Maybe my head going into walls, maybe that was just my imagination. Maybe him punching me in the side of the face and had a black eye going to church. Maybe that, I just imagined that. That didn't really happen. Well, no, it happened. But the gaslighting made you doubt. That's why it's so effective. After communicating with the person who gaslights you, you're left feeling dazed and wondering what's wrong with you, which is why, you guys, I made the decision when my dad called my mom and said all that, I made the decision I was cutting off all ties to my gaslighter. And I had the luxury of doing that. Now, was that an easy decision? No, it's my dad. But I knew for my sanity's sake that that was the thing I had to do. You can't always get out of a gaslighting situation that easy like I did, cutting off ties with your perpetrator. So you need to look for these signs that I'm about to go over so you can see if it's getting really bad. Tactics like these will confuse you and cause you to question your sanity. So the first tactic, they will outright lie to you. People who engage in gaslighting are habitual and pathological liars. Pathological liars means they are so convinced of their own lie that they think it's true. When someone gets to that level where a lie becomes the truth in their mind, there's no going back. They have what's called a reprobate mind. That reprobate mind won't let them know what reality is, won't let them know what truth is. My dad is a pathological liar. He doesn't want to believe what he did to me. Now, how did he get there? And how do a lot of these people who engage in gaslighting get there? They get there, but I think, just based on my own kind of researching this topic this year, I think trauma has a big role in that, and that lying and becoming a pathological liar and now engaging in gaslighting is a coping mechanism that a lot of people use to deal with their own trauma in their life. They never got to the heart of it in therapy or doing any of the work that kind of brought this out. So what do? They take it out on other people in the form of abuse. And gaslighting is a form of abuse. So they lie to you. They will blatantly lie to your face. Never back down or change their story, even when you call them out or have evidence, proof of the deception they're doing. Lying is the cornerstone of the behavior. Like, you could show them evidence that shows everything they're telling you is not true, and they will still stick to their story. I know a lot of politicians who are pathological liars that gaslight. That's almost like a prerequisite to be a politician. You have to be very good at lying and manipulating and gaslighting. And they do it. Even when you know they're lying, they can be so convincing. You can put on a confident front of a lie and be so sure of yourself. This is why I think personality types also play into this. If you tend to be a lot more timid, I am not timid in any way. I'm very assertive, and some people tell me I'm over assertive. So I try to back off when people feel like I'm being intimidating, because I'm not trying to be. It's just my personality to be a little more assertive and confident. Other people tend to be a lot more reserved and timid. Timid people tend to be the ones that become the victims of gaslighting the most. And those people who just want to resolve conflict and have no conflict in their life, they also will do anything just to get out of situations that make them feel uncomfortable. And gaslighting is one of those situations. In the end, when they lie to you, they are trying to get you to second guess yourself. So lying to you, that is the first sign that someone is gaslighting you and you call them out on their lie and they still stick to the lie. You're being gaslighted. Number two, they try to discredit you to other people. Gaslighters are very good at spreading rumors and gossip about you to other people. I was the victim of this a few years back. I had a lady in my business that I had paid as a kind of marketing consultant to try to help rebuild my website and kind of freshen up the brand and do everything. This was 3 or 4 years ago. I paid her a really large sum of money to do this. And one of the first things she did, and I did not catch it at the time, one of the first things she did was she took one of my closest allies in the keto space and she started telling me all kinds of negative things about him and said all kinds of things about what he felt about me. So she spread rumors, she spread gossip. And of course, once I found out what a fraud she was and she took off with a bunch of money of mine and I was taken, I reached out to that friend and I asked this person, you know, did you believe all that about me? He's like, no. I was like, I was the victim of gaslighting. $27,000, by the way, is what she stole from me. And it just was a salient reminder that you have to be eyes wide open to this kind of thing or you're easily going to fall prey to it. Again, I'm not a timid person whatsoever, and this person was able to bamboozle me. Thankfully now that person that she tried to drive the wedge between me and him, we're cool now. But it took a little bit of kind of healing that friendship and that connection because of this gaslighting that took place. They may pretend to be worried about you while subtly telling others that you seem to be emotionally unstable or crazy. You know those people? They'll say, oh man, I feel like you're going through some rough times right now and I can see you're highly stressed and wow. And then meanwhile telling other people, oh, I think he's gone off the deep end. I think he's one step away from the cuckoo's nest and da-da-da-da-da. So then the perception of other people of you becomes this negative thing and they start to question you. And then when you interact with those people who have that lie in their head about you, then you don't know that they have that lie, and yet now you're interacting with them and you can see the hesitancy. You see why gaslighting is so insidious? It gets deep into people's psyches. It does. Unfortunately, this tactic, discrediting you to others, can be extremely effective, and many people may side with the abuser or bully without even knowing it and knowing the full story. And that's the thing. When somebody tries to come to me with rumors about someone else, most people try to just believe it right off the bat. You know what I do? I immediately don't believe it because I'm one of those people, because I have been such the recipient of so much misinformation about over the years. I always give people the benefit of the doubt. I think because of my own experience, it makes me a lot more soft and tender in my heart to want to get the full story before I believe something. So if somebody says something about a friend of mine that I know and it doesn't jive with my experience with that friend, sometimes I'll go to that friend and have a conversation and just kind of get a vibe, and without being explicit about it, just kind of slip it into the conversation and start talking to them and say, you know, hey, what about this? And oh, no, nothing at all. And then I'll know the truth. I wish more people would go to the horse's mouth directly rather than believing a lie that someone gaslighted and automatically thinking badly of someone else without going to the horse's mouth itself. It's not fair to that person who you heard a rumor about to not go to them and try to confirm or deny that rumor. And this is why gaslighting is so brilliant. Most people won't do that kind of work. They will just believe. And guess what? That breaks friendships, that breaks relationships, that breaks up family, and it prevents people online from being able to communicate effectively. Are you kind of getting a gist of why exactly this is so bad? Why exactly people, they just don't want to put in the effort to know what the truth is? And the truth is never what you hear about other people. It's hardly ever that. It's almost always someone who's trying to have a bad perception about you. And I'll tell you that the funniest thing is people will write to me and I'll be very kind to them in a direct message or even like on a phone call. And then sometimes they'll stop and go, "You are nothing like what I heard about you." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll bite. What did you hear about me?" "Well, you're this arrogant man who's only in it for the money and you really don't care about anything but yourself, and you're a shyster and you don't know anything and da da da." And I'm like, "Okay, and now you're none of those things." And I'm like, "Right. Could you come to me or go to anybody like that before you just jump to believing things in your head? Go to the source." Every single one of those would be more than happy to talk to you. Now, sometimes you go to the source and it's confirmation of all the bad things you've heard. So it's not always a gaslighting situation. But sometimes, and I would argue most of the time, especially public figures like myself, when you hear things about them, don't automatically believe the things you hear. Go right to them and say, "Hey, I heard about this, da 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 da. Is this true? Are you this?" It's just unfortunate that people go right to belief rather than trying to give the person the benefit of the doubt. Additionally, the gaslighter may lie to you and tell you that other people think you're crazy. So then the gaslighter is spreading all these rumors how crazy you are to all your friends and coworkers and family and people around you. And then they come back to you and go, "Oh yeah, everybody thinks you're crazy." And because they've already gaslit you to all those friends, they're going to think you're crazy. And now you know that they think you're crazy. And so it's kind of going to be this self-fulfilling prophecy. Again, insidious, evil to the core. These people probably will never say a bad thing about you, but the gaslighter has put that thought in your head and will make every attempt to get you to believe that they do. Oh. Am I describing somebody in your life? Am I describing an instance that has happened to you? Maybe this is putting it on the radar screen of something that happened to you. You didn't know what was going on, and now you're getting a clearer picture. You got gaslighted. So they'll lie to you. They'll discredit you to others. The next one, they'll deflect blame. When you ask a gaslighter a question or call them out for something they did or said, they might change the subject by asking a question instead of responding to the issue at hand. They may blatantly lie about the situation by saying something like, "Oh, you're just making things up. That never happened." Ooh. Here's my dad again. He told my mom I just made up being beat up and emotionally and physically abused as a kid. He told my mom that flat out. Now, my mom knows the truth, and she stood up for me and all that. But gaslighter, they will deflect the blame. "Oh, no, I'm not the one at fault. I'm not the one." When all the while they are the one. But they will do everything they can to change the subject and move on. Next thing, minimize your thoughts and feelings. A gaslighter will trivialize your emotions, and that allows them to gain power over you. They might make statements like, "Oh, just calm down. You're overreacting. Why are you so sensitive?" All of these statements minimize how you feel and what you are thinking and communicate that you are wrong. And I'll be the first to admit, I've said some of those things to people in my life. And you think they're well-intentioned. And your goal, I suppose, at a very cursory level, is just to try to diffuse the situation so the emotional, intensity of it calms down. But at the end of the day, if someone's having that much of an emotional reaction, Let them emote. Let them express. A gaslighter won't do that. A gaslighter every single time will minimize those feelings, minimize those emotions, and try to get you to STFU. And a lot of times they're successful. And especially the timid, the people that just don't like conflict, they will immediately go to, oh, okay, yeah, I'll calm down, and not really realize what just happened to them. When you deal with someone who never acknowledges any of your thoughts, never tells you your feelings or beliefs are valid, you will begin to question those things yourself. What's more, you never feel validated or understood, which can be extremely difficult to cope with. So we need that reinforcement of how we're feeling and allowing ourselves to feel the feels. People are like, well, you should never be emotional and cry. Well, that's crap. If you've got something that's bringing you to an emotional state, get it out. Don't let a gaslighter invalidate your feelings. If you have feelings and it's causing an emotional response, let it out. But these gaslighters don't want you to let it out. They want you to feel bad about yourself for feeling that way, and then by extension from that, trying to get you to question why you're feeling that way. Next one, shifting the blame to you. Blame shifting is a common tactic of gaslighters. Every discussion you have is somehow twisted to where you're to blame for something that has occurred. Narcissists are very good at this. A narcissist has never done a thing wrong in their life. And narcissism, which I've done in other Jimmy Rants, all about just narcissism and how to deal with them. These people are the epitome of perfection. They have done no wrong. They have refused to apologize for anything because they've done no wrong, but they are quick to blame everybody else for their problems. And in relationships of any kind, if something bad happens, it's not anything that they did, it's totally something that you did. And so if you're constantly being blamed for things that you did nothing about and had no input about it whatsoever, you're the victim of a gaslighter. Even when you try to discuss how their behavior makes you feel, they will twist it and end up blaming you anyway. In other words, they manipulate the situation in such a way that you end up believing in the end that you're the cause of their bad behavior. Well, I'm always angry and it's all your fault that I'm always angry. Well, I do see that you tend to have these emotional outbursts. And no. You need to accept your role that you put so much stress in my life that you stress me out because you stress me out. That makes me angry. And if I'm angry, it's because of you. You see how this little web of lies, this little deception of shifting the blame turns it right back on you? You've been gaslighted. They claim that if only you had behaved better, then they wouldn't treat you the way they treat you. Oh, I know I am hitting somebody's family member, coworker, spouse, somebody online. I know I'm hitting I'm describing them to a T for somebody right now. Next one, they deny any wrongdoing. Bullies and abusers are notorious for denying that they did anything wrong. Again, perfection. They do this in order to avoid taking responsibility for their bad choices. But it also leaves the victim of gaslighting confused and frustrated because there's no acknowledgement of the pain that's been caused on them. This also makes it very hard for the victim to move on or to heal from the bullying or abusiveness. So if the bully, the gaslighter, never admits that they did anything wrong and never admits that they caused you the pain that you're feeling, you're left to wallow with that pain. And in that time of stillness and time of reflection and analysis of what happened, you start to doubt. Maybe I did. Maybe it was me that caused this, and you start to doubt. No, you don't need to doubt. You can see with your own two eyes exactly what's going on here. Ooh, listen to this one, guys. You might have been gaslighted by someone if they use compassionate words as a weapon. Listen to this one. Sometimes when a gaslighter is called out or questioned, they will use kind and loving words to try to smooth it over. They might say something like, get ready, you know how much I love you. I would never, ever hurt you on purpose. These are the words you want to hear, but they're not real. They're not authentic, especially if they go and do the same behavior all over again. We sometimes hear that kind of thing. This is like another form of passive-aggressive language. When you say you're sorry, you say, oh, you know I love you, and I would never do anything on purpose. When you say those things, but then your actions show that you repeat the bad behavior that made you say that to begin with, did you really mean those words? Probably not. When you're dealing with someone who uses gaslighting as a manipulation tool, pay close attention to their actions, not their words. Is this person truly showing me love? Or are they only saying loving things? Speaking loving language is not the totality of love. Expressing it outwardly through action is showing love. And that's how you can know. If they constantly say, oh, you know, I love you, I'd never do anything to hurt you, blah, 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 but then they hurt you. And then they do things that aren't in your best interests. And they're, oh, well, you know, I still love you, and I, blah, 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 blah. It's just this, it's a manipulation tactic. And it's gaslighting just as much as all the rest of the things we're talking about. And then the last one, twisting and reframing conversations. Gaslighters typically use this tactic when you're discussing something that happened in the past. For instance, if your partner shoves you against the wall and you're dissecting it later, they may twist the story in their favor. They may say you stumbled and they tried to catch you, which in turn caused you to fall into the wall. When stories and memories are constantly retold in the gaslighter's favor, you may doubt what the memory is. This is exactly the goal. This is what happened with my dad. So I have vivid memories of the physical and emotional abuse that he gave me. He busted my head in the walls. He punched me right in the face, in the head. He did all kinds of things physically to hurt me. He also said some really ugly things about me, called me a faggot, said that I would never amount to anything, that no girl would ever want me, that I should go to reform school even though I was an honor roll student in school. He did everything to try to bring me down. And then like later on, when you try to like, well, you know, that was really kind of crappy. What happened? Oh, no, it was great. You were just a bad kid and da-da-da. And I'm like, twisted and reframed, revisionist history, what actually happened. And I think we need to hold true when people try to tell you something that you know is categorically wrong, categorically false, and you know and you trust in your memories about things. Don't let them make you doubt that. That's the design of a gaslighter. Okay, so here are 15 signs that you're a victim of gaslighting. This was so good, guys. I hope this episode, by the way, is helpful to you. Maybe you've experienced this and you didn't know what it was. Well, now you do. You've been gaslighted. Being subject to gaslighting can cause you anxiety and depression. It can also lead to panic attacks and a nervous breakdown. For this reason, it is important to recognize when you're being gaslighted. So ask yourself all of the following statements, or any of them, and see if they ring true. So pay attention. Do you doubt your feelings and reality? You try to convince yourself that the treatment you receive is not really that bad, or you're just too sensitive. So trust your gut, trust your instincts. If it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't seem like what's happening is based in reality, that's a sign you've been gaslighted. You doubt your judgment and perceptions. You're afraid of speaking up or sharing how you really feel. You've learned that sharing your opinion usually makes things much worse. So you choose to stay silent instead. If you find that you want to keep your mouth shut around certain people, they have gaslighted you. You feel vulnerable and insecure. As a result, you often feel like you have to walk on eggshells. That's what we were just talking about around certain people. You feel on the edge and you totally lack self-esteem. You've been gaslighted. You feel all alone and powerless. You're convinced everyone around you thinks you're just wackadoodle, strange, crazy, unstable, just like the gaslighter says you are. This makes you feel trapped and isolated. You feel stupid and crazy. Their words make you feel like you're wrong, inadequate, or insane. Sometimes you even find yourself repeating those statements back to yourself. Guys, this is the danger of gaslighting. It gets into the deep crevices of our mind, even to the subconscious, so that even when you're not actively thinking about it, it's in there. And so then when situations come up in your life, that subconscious comes to the conscious, and then you're like, oh yeah, I've been told that and it's not true at all. Gaslighting, guys, this is ugly, ugly stuff. You're disappointed in yourself and who you are as a person. You feel like you're a weak and passive person and that you used to be stronger and more assertive. You feel confused. The family member's behavior confuses you. They look like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's one. If you're around someone in a relationship and one day they're wonderful, fun to be around, and everything seems great, and then the next day they are the evilest person in the world, just know that's a dangerous person to be around that's more likely to gaslight you than not. You're worrying about being too sensitive, especially when the member of your family or friend's circle minimizes hurtful behaviors by saying, oh, I was just joking, you're just too sensitive. Yeah. You have a sense of impending doom. You feel like something really bad's about to happen when you're around this person. This may include being threatened or on the edge, and you don't know why. You apologize a lot. Can I tell you, I've got friends that I know, they apologize for everything, not just to me, but to everybody. And so when you've been gaslit, you feel the need to apologize all the time for any action that you do, any words that you say. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Stop it. Does not help. You feel inadequate. You feel like you're never good enough. You try to live up to the expectations of others, even if they are unreasonable. Guys, can I tell you, you're adequate. Wherever you are in your life, you right now are adequate. You don't need the validation of someone else to invalidate you and make you feel inadequate. You second guess yourself. Again, going back to trusting that gut instinct is usually right most of the time. You frequently wonder if you accurately remember details of past events. You may have even stopped trying to share what you remember because you don't want to be wrong. I don't care what my dad thinks and what he says about the childhood abuse. He fucking hit me in my head. He pushed the hell out of me into walls, making my head bleed, hitting walls. Big crevices in the sheetrock. It happened. And as much as he wants to deny that it happened, it happened. Not going to second guess myself. I know it happened. I have the vivid memory in my mind's eye of exactly what happened. One time he made me pull my pants down and he beat the crap, not out of my butt, out of my lower back and my lower or upper part of my hamstring. And I had welts all up and down my backside of my body. And he wants to say he never abused me. Yeah, screw you. Yeah, you did. Tell me that didn't happen. If it didn't happen, why do I have that memory? It happened. You assume others are disappointed in you. You apologize all the time for what you're doing, assuming people are disappointed or that somehow you made a mistake. So if you always feel like you're letting people down, that's a sign that you've been gaslit. You wonder what's wrong with you. If there's something fundamentally wrong, You worry that you might be crazy, neurotic, or losing it. And then the last one, you struggle to make decisions because you just don't trust yourself. You would rather allow this person that gaslit you to make decisions for you or to avoid all decisions altogether. So guys, that was an incredible article all about finding out whether or not you were gaslit. Psychology Today had another one. Let's see if there's anything else. They tell blatant lies. They deny they said something even though you have proof. They use what is near and dear to you as ammunition. Oh, they know how important your kids are to you, and they know how important your identity is to you. So those may be the first ones that they attack. If you have kids, they tell you that you should not have had those kids. They will tell you you'd be a worthy person if only you didn't have a long list of these negative traits. They attack the very foundation of who you are as a human being. These gaslighters, they know what they're doing, and their goal is to get deep within the crevices of your mind to make you doubt yourself. They wear you down over time. This is one of the worst things about gaslighting. It's done gradually over time. A lie here, a lie there, a snide comment every so often, and then it ramps up. Even the brightest, most self-aware people can get sucked into it. It's that effective. It's the frog in the frying pan analogy. The heat is turned up slowly. The frog never realizes they're being cooked. And we see that online a lot. We see that with people who share opinions, and you could see, like, when they share a comment, that it's a little aggressive. And you're like, okay, no big deal. And then someone will engage them. And then the next comment will be a little more aggressive, maybe a little bit personal attack. And then the person comes back, the other person comments, oh, and it's a little more. And then that person comes full bore, and you could see this progression happen. We see it all the time on social media. And when you see it on social media, it gets ugly really fast. This is why social media is a hellhole sometimes, where people just don't know how to treat each other. Their actions don't match their words. They throw positive reinforcement to confuse you. We talked about that. They know confusion weakens people. Gaslighters know people like having a sense of stability and normalcy. Their goal is to uproot this and make you constantly question everything. Humans' natural tendency is to look to the person or entity that will help you feel more stable, and that happens to be the gaslighter. Are we being gaslit by our government and the people over the coronavirus right now? Think about it. They have done nothing but confuse the public about what to do. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Hydroxychloroquine is good, it's not. Socially distance, and here's the appropriate amount. We're not going to school, we're going to school. It's just back and forth. Have we been gaslit as a country? It's just kind of an aside since I'm talking about gaslighting. But it is interesting, some of the tactics of gaslighting, have they been used on us in that way as a collective? And then we're left confused, feeling less stable. And then what do? You default to what helps you feel stable, and it's listening to your gaslighter and obeying their every command. Something to think about, guys. They project. They are a drug user or a cheater, yet they constantly accuse you of that. This is done so often that you start trying to defend yourself, and you are distracted from their own behavior. So if someone does something and you call them out on it, they actually accuse you of doing that. That's the funniest thing. They project what they're doing to you, and yet you didn't do anything of the sort, and they're the ones that did it, but yet you're the one that feels bad. They align people against you. They tell you and others that you're crazy. They tell everyone that everyone believes you're a liar. So yeah, some of the same stuff in that one. But gaslighting, guys, did you notice anything in all of that as I was going through all these signs of gaslighting, how it's used, how you can know you become the victim of it? This is a lot more prevalent than I think we know. And it's not always in a love relationship. It's in friendships. it's in family relationships, and it's even here online in our interactions with other people. So I hope you now have eyes wide open to when gaslighting is being used on you, and that this information here today in Jimmy Rants will help you out with that. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. We're going to come here first to Instagram, then over to Facebook, finally over to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. See what you have to say about this one. Darlene says, I love this focal point. Thank you for this. Yes, you're welcome. I have been burdened to talk about some of these kinds of things. It's one of the reasons I created Jimmy Rants. I can talk about keto and cholesterol and fasting till I'm blue in the face, and I still do talk about a lot of those things, but these are the kinds of issues that are real life. This is where the rubber meets the road, where people's lives shift and what drives them to eat food, what drives them to take medications and for mental health things. Maybe this information will save you from some of that. And indirectly, it actually does help your health. So still talking about health, even when I'm not talking about health. It's easily done to older individuals, Darlene said. Yeah, because at that point, you lived your life and you're like, you really don't want to shake the boat, so you just go along to get along. And it's unfortunate. Jax says, my ex used to do this intentionally to trigger me, then accuse me of being crazy and having meltdowns for no reason at all. I believed it for such a long time because it works, Jax, and I'm glad you got out of that relationship. Those kinds of relationships are not love-based. If you love someone and you sincerely have their best interests in mind, you would never, ever engage in gaslighting. I just believe that in my heart of hearts. There's no way. Now, will you have moments where this could come out? Sure. But when you do it on a habitual basis where it's like everything about who and what you are, you don't love that person. If you feel the need to do that, and I hope, especially you ladies, if you're in a relationship with a guy like that, get out. You don't have to put up with that. You don't have to endure being told how worthless you are. If a man makes you feel worthless and makes you feel tiny and makes you feel unloved, get out of that relationship. There's too much to live in life, and there's a lot of guys out there that would love to give you all the things that you're wanting without having to gaslight you. Stacy says, insidious is a good word. It is. It's so evil. Insidious. I can't believe that it happens, but it does. Bonnie says, my ex-husband denied everything that went on. Do you think at times they truly believe their denial instead of lying? I think when you are a pathological liar, Bonnie, as I was talking about earlier, when you're that pathological of a liar, after a while you believe your own lie. And again, politicians are the epitome of pathological liars. They tell a lie so often, even though it's blatantly untrue, they tell a lie so often that they actually believe the lie is true. And it does sound like that's exactly what happened with your ex-husband. Chimp Logic, vitamin A toxicity lady on your show today, what happened? What do you mean what happened? You can go watch the episode over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, and Judy Barnes Baker is her name. It's up there now. By the time this Jimmy Rants is over, it's probably up on my podcast, The Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show, which you can listen on Apple Podcast, llvlc.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. So it's up there now, so I don't know what you mean, what happened. Jack says, when my ex knew he did something on purpose to upset me, he'd ask, are you mad at me? But there was always a little smile twitching in the corner of his mouth. He knew my reaction, he would relish in it. Yeah. It's unfortunate. Like, why do guys have to do that? Like, I would never on purpose, like, want to manipulate someone, especially someone that I proclaim that I love. Like, why would you do that? Other than there's some guys that just like that control. Yeah. There's a special place in hell for people like that. Rachel says, I feel like it's easier to spot with others online, but when it's happening to you, it's so much harder to see. Thank you, Rachel. It's one reason I wanted to do this Jimmy Rants today is I feel like this happens on the regular and people don't recognize in real time what's going on when it's happening to them. But you're right. When you see it happening to someone else, you're like, oh my God, get that block, delete that person. They're only gaslighting you. It's almost like we have to have each other's backs. If you notice that's happening on someone else's page, by all means, reach out to them and say, that person's gaslighting you. Just get rid of them. They don't have your best interest in mind. So thank you for pointing that out, Rachel. All right, thank you, Instagram. Let's pop over here now to my Facebook page. What's up, Facebook? See what you have to say about this one. Nancy says they tend to prey on people with low self-esteem. Yeah. Don't feel good about yourself. And then someone comes in and makes you feel even worse about yourself. You're definitely not going to fight back. You're not. Kira says the gaslighter sounds like your basic sociopath narcissist. What's the difference? Well, sociopaths and narcissists use gaslighting as a means of getting their message across, and their ultimate goal is control. It's definitely right there, synonyms wise, but there are people who aren't necessarily sociopaths and narcissists who engage in this from time to time. So I wouldn't just say that all gaslighters are narcissist sociopaths, but I would say all sociopaths and narcissists use gaslighting as a tactic. All right, thank you, Facebook. Now let's go over to YouTube, see what my YouTubers have to say on this one. What address can I email you for a question? Well, I don't have, I don't really check my emails anymore. If you go to any of my social media pages, definitely on Instagram, if you follow me over there at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN, send me a direct message there. I'd be happy to answer whatever question you have. Harpsy says, so healthy to understand the inner heart. I think the brain also needs good fuel. Yeah. Denial of absolute scientific proof and avoiding blame for the harm caused. Wonderful stream of ideas from generation to generation break the chain of mental and physical harm so painful. Yes. Shirley said all of this is spot on. It is. And I wish it wasn't, but it's true. A whole World War II generation suffered and passed on the damage, war's damage for generations. Yeah, maybe. Not just that, but lots of things. I'm on a team at work with a gaslighter. Oh, Don, I feel for you. I've been told over and over again that I have a bad memory, so I don't even remember the reason why I'm having the conversation with the person, which used to make me completely blank out. You've been gaslit, Shirley. That's why. I became food addicted to deal with the pain. Oh, Harpsy. That's my fear. I think that's what happens here is people do. They turn to food addiction. Once I became aware of what was happening, I started to stand up for myself. That's what happens. It's why I'm doing this Jimmy Rants today, because if you recognize it in yourself, then when it starts happening to you, you can be proactive. So good for you overcoming it. Ironically, my family was constantly telling me how great my memory was growing up. It's sad how easily you can be brainwashed to believe lies. Yeah, it is sad. And there are some people in people's families where they're the black sheep. Like nobody in the family thinks they're anything but wackadoodle. And I suppose at some level, somebody could certainly have some mental health issues that would make them that way. But a lot of times it's gaslighting, and recognizing that and knowing that you didn't put yourself in that position. This other person did, or these other people did. That's the other thing too. When you're being gaslit by multiple people, then it becomes even more intense of, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Because if multiple people are gaslighting you and making you feel bad for the woes in their life or the woes in your own life, how do you not believe it's true? And so that makes this really bad as well. So guys, I hope this was informative here today about what gaslighting is, how you can tell if it's being used against you. Look for the warning signs. Go back and watch this on replay, and be sure to share it with everybody in your life who you think could benefit from this. And if you're a gaslighter, hopefully I described what you're doing here today so you can stop it. I think there are some people who use gaslighting and they don't even know it, and it's just become so much a part of who they are. And again, I think gaslighting could be one of those coping mechanisms of people that dealt with trauma in their life and never resolved it. Gaslighting is one of the coping mechanisms. I don't think it's a good one. I think it's a coping mechanism, and it might help you deal with what happened in your life, but it's not helping the people you are now victimizing. You're now traumatizing people with this use of gaslighting. So just be aware of that. If that's you, you can change your habits and change what you're doing if you recognize what you're doing. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me right here on Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live. We are here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so thank you for being here. We also simulcast live over here on my Facebook page as well as on my YouTube channel. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay on IGTV. We also put the past episodes up over on YouTube. Type in a keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. We do have a Jimmy Rants bonus episode over on YouTube for you to go watch today. It is an interview with Judy Barnes-Baker. She got vitamin A toxicity. So find out what physically happened to her when she got too much vitamin A in her body, what she did to heal, how it almost killed her. She was in a wheelchair, under 100 pounds, was basically left to die. Mainstream medicine let her down, but she found her answer and realized it was vitamin A toxicity. So she talks all about that issue today. Go check it out, the Jimmy Rants bonus episode over on YouTube, or you can listen on the Livin' La Vida Low Carb Show, LLVLC.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And then finally, go to JimmyRants.com, the official website for this show. You can see all the past episodes there, and it's also where you can support my work. If you like what I do here and all the variety of topics that I share on Jimmy Rants, click on the Patreon link at JimmyRants.com, and you can make a monthly donation or a one-time donation through the PayPal link there at JimmyRants.com. All right, guys, that's it for now. We'll see you again tomorrow with more Jimmy Rants. Bye. All right. I love it when I'm doing the outro and like all that the spiel to leave the show. I can see the numbers start to dwindle. I guess if you've watched the show, you've heard the intro and the outro so many times. It's like, okay, he's not going to say anything interesting. Although one day I should just like in the middle of like outroing, just start giving more content just suddenly. And then they'll go back later and go, wait a minute, we didn't know about that content. You were saying goodbye, but you stuck around. What? That would be so mean, wouldn't it? Hello, was it Nelly just popped in? Hello. Well, thank you guys for being here. What do I have to do? I have so many things in the middle of a week to get done, but I think I'm gonna go outside and get some sunshine here in the middle of the day. It is beautiful sunshine. It's supposed to be pouring down rain very soon, so tonight. So I wanna make sure I'm getting in sun as much as I can today to fill up my vitamin D stores. All right, guys, thanks for being here. We'll see you again soon. Bye. Bye, YouTube.